everyone, and welcome to my Emulationstation arcade machine showcase for custom platforms. This is just going to be a brief overview. There's a possibility that I may do detailed videos on specific things in the future. We're just going to be going over this. So here we've just got, Nintendo. These usually just run straight off the bat by launching them as soon as the controller is configured in Emulationstation. But some stuff like the Nintendo DS requires you to disable the auto config for RetroArch and Emulationstation, so you can automatically have your own configs loaded instead of the default one. So we got NES. These just all work off the bat, like I said. Nintendo Wii, all this requires is some video config and controller setup, and you're good to go. Same with Wii U. These just require a bit of controller config, and that's it. PlayStation 3, a tough one to run, but it does work. Dreamcast, again, these just work off the bat. Sega, the Genesis, Mega Drive, 32X, Neo Geo. PlayStation 2, again, just controller config and making sure that your config is loaded and not Emulationstation's. Otherwise, you're going to have buttons that do nothing. SP, PlayStation 1, Nintendo Switch. I will load a Nintendo Switch up. But while that is happening, to do this, we have to add a new system into the system's config. There's already a Nintendo Switch one, but for me, it wasn't working, so I had to create a brand new one based from the Windows system that is on here. But you can also notice it's not in full screen. So we have to edit the pad to key file to bind an app to do specific things when we press a button. So as you can see here, the Switch emulator has a few hotkeys, but for whatever reason this only works if you bind a hotkey and a button. So how you would press start and select to quit a game, you would hold the hotkey and press a button like so, and you can see it's gone full screen. We do it again, it's gone back. These work perfectly fine. Again, just controller setup other than that. Quit out of that. Xbox 360, again, kind of awkward. Controller config. These aren't finished properly yet, but they do work. Laserdisc. Laserdisc is a very awkward one because it just changes depending on the hardware you're using, and it's the only one you're going to have issues with if you're transferring to different hardware. Resolution may be completely broken or off screen. MAME, again, these usually just work as soon as you press play, but sometimes they will require config. So as you can see, that one's running on 2003, but there might be another one on here that needs to be run on 2010 MAME. But you're only going to find that out if you go through every single game, but most of them will work on just one version. Atari, and then CDI. So CDI is the latest one I've added, and this is the worst out of them all. Again, you need to add it as a system in the config, but then you also need to add into the themes. So you would have to find your themes, and then there you go. We've got the XML for it to include the background and the system, and yeah. But getting this to work is also hardware dependent. it's way more complicated than it should be, especially just to streamline it so you don't have to use a mouse and keyboard. The bat file requires config to be loaded from for the MAME that it's running off, because this is actually running off MAME but just in a different way. So we got a blue screen, that's good. And yeah, it's hovered over the play button, so we just press play again. And CDI is working right here. So we never have to touch the mouse and keyboard to get that working. So quit out of that. And then we have Windows, which again uses a bat file, the generic bat file that has been edited by me just to do what I need it to. So it starts the program with whatever file you've asked it to launch with, and then it has a timeout to see if that exe is running. And that is how it determines when it goes back to Emulationstation. But yeah, this just allows you to launch anything pretty much, and that's how we launch the Windows games. I won't launch one because it may take a while. Original Xbox, again, just some video config and controller config. And then I've added a movie section. Adding this manually takes so much time with all the trailers and images and the description, but it was worth it. But like I say, I still have a lot more to do.
Now, does anybody know what?
This is the bat file for a movie. It's the exact same, just tweaked a little bit each time. And again, we have hotkeys to control the volume and the pause and play. We hold the hotkey, we have the previous, volume up, volume down, pause, play, back, and then we have the fast forward button here, and then the next button. Having this streamlined is just so much better than constantly coming back to your mouse and keyboard. And that is pretty much it. I mean, there are other little details, but I won't go over them right now. Maybe in a different video, but this is just a brief overview. So yeah, thank you for watching.